We are going to hand over the direction of nature to nature, which is what it comes to.
Growing network for podcasters right now.
You ever sit down and forget your left and rights? Oh, and by the way, there's a microphone on your thing, by the way.
Does this work?
No, absolutely not.
No.
But I guess it's for sure.
Alright, so.
Speak into the mic.
We're not doing this, bro. Okay, we're trying to make an
Okay.
episode.
Okay. See, I poured a lot of seltzer in, but because of the carbonation, it looks lower now.
Where's the bottle?
If we need. Okay.
Alright, so I remember one day during the school year, we were having a conversation, and I forget exactly what we were talking about, but I used a quote to explain something to you, and you told me I hate quotes. And I said, why do you hate quotes? And you said, they don't mean anything, they're not elaborated enough. And I explained to you that the thing that I really love about quotes is that they're such compact wisdom, and in fact, they explain things in such an elusive manner that you capture the essence of what you want to tell much better than writing a whole book on the subject. And when you look at any word or even a sentence, I mean, every word has a book that could be written about it. You could write a book about the word
I love quotes.
about the word how, about a wall, about the history of walls and spiritual nature.
I love quotes.
You love them now.
No. I've always loved quotes, but the reason I said I hate them is because this guy would nonstop talk about his quotes.
Not my quotes. Other quotes.
You don't understand. You get off the bus. Israel. Chapter 4, Section 13.
That's what I sound like.
Bro, So I said I hate quotes, meaning I hate quotes. I was very literal in that. I don't like quotes because you take something and you condense it, and I feel like it's dumbing it down.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you have to find the right quote for you, right? So, I only like a few quotes. I write quotes. I fucking hate 50% of them. It's, pointless.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read them back and be like, okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing profound in what I wrote.
Yeah.
Okay,
But what I
that's
was gonna
true.
say, though,
That goes in the garbage.
is without having guests or anything, because we obviously don't have the setup complete, it's hard to come up with subjects over and over again, and looping back to that idea of, you could write a book about every word. Quotes are the perfect source of endless content and information.
Right, and I don't know if you find when
So
you're
much we
writing...
could talk about.
I don't know if you find when you're writing them, but you realize a lot of it is pointless, though. And it's frustrating because you'll spend hours sitting there trying to think of a deeper meaning for things to explain into quotes.
I don't really.
And you can't.
I don't really think for a quote though. I feel like they kind of just emerge out of me through what I write. I'll write whole essays and stuff, and then
Find one quote.
You find one sentence
Right.
that just really sums it up. Really just works.
Right, and I
Anyways.
find that kind of being the conclusion.
What do you mean?
I feel like for me, a quote is a conclusion. It's a solution to the bigger problem because you can condense it into something. It's almost like, I feel like condensed is a better word to use for understanding,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a conclusion as well because most things you sum up in a conclusion. If you're writing an essay, you're going to sum up with the conclusion.
There's a quote that I read from Kieran last night. I was sitting reading out on my front porch, and he says that a work is complete when you are disgusted by it, when you haven't captured what you've wanted to capture, but you can't add another comma if you wanted to. You can't make it you can't explain it any more than you already have. And that would sort of contradict what you're saying, because you're saying that a lot of your quotes are useless, but once you become sickened with an idea, wouldn't that mean that it's fully passed through you finally?
I
And
suppose so,
that's
but
the term of completion.
yeah, I mean,
Sickness.
I don't know. I see it as a form of quitting. If you get
It's not
sick of
quitting
something,
because you want to add more, but there's literally nothing you can do to it, to a point that you grow to hate your ideas that you once loved.
it's not the case with mine. Mine are just not good enough. You know what I mean? There's better ways.
That's what he was saying, though.
Right.
There's better ways, but you can't. But when it gets to the point that you know there's a better way, but you can't, you physically can't. It's a limit of language that you can't add anymore. You can't make it better, and it grows to sickness and stuff. I might be misquoting it. I could find the quote, and like I'm probably missing bits of it that helped me understand it. And I'm probably relaying it worse than it could be relayed. But
Either ways, for me, I think of everything like a painting. I've told you this. I think about my life like a painting. You put the background in first, obviously, because you can't paint in a background when everything is already there.
mm-hmm.
You can't change your environment in the painting once you already built upon a different reality. And the same thing goes for real life. I can't start learning philosophies if my background is already destroyed, right? I can't. If there's no background filled in, how am I supposed to build off of it? You can't. So if I'm thinking about this quote-wise, I kind of got off topic with the painting thing, but we're going to go right back on. When I write quotes from my writings or from whatever I've learned or what I like to say, I find that they're pointless because they don't have a background. They have nothing to base themselves off of. If I were to go up to you and just say, wisdom is the best for knowledge,
Yeah.
that's probably some quote, but that has no context in the problem, in your life, and that just makes me look like a weirdo that I'm saying some random ass words.
Yeah.
But if I were to put that into context with the background, if I'm saying something about wisdom and how wisdom you need thinking, but thinking has nothing to do with wisdom, I said wisdom is but a technology
And that-
of knowledge. That
that
would make,
can
of course, more sense.
tied further into philosophy, I found that, with writers like Nietzsche and Kierkegaard, who I said I was reading the other morning or the other night, I find that I can only understand such profound philosophy when I can feel it. Like, there's many things, like essays that Nietzsche has wrote that I can't fathom, and then there's many of them that it's like, it's hard to explain, but I'm like, yes, like that thing, because I've felt it. Right?
Experiences
that's
create
sort of
realities.
the background that you're talking about.
Mhm.
So here's something that I thought about coming off of that, just going further and further, deeper into it. There is many things that you will never understand. Right? I've long thought of the time that I write or I tell my final words to my disciples and children of this earth. And I pass into to whatever's next. And we have this, what do you call it, tendency to share things. Even though if you were to share something, people are only going to understand it if they can feel it. So if you're going to share the absurd profoundness of the moment of death, which I'm sure will be such an amazing thing to look on, such a crazy experience. I mean, life, right? No one's going to understand it. So then what is the value of wisdom if it can't be shared? And wisdom will not be shared by a man who is dead, because he then knows. So would you say that the pursuit of knowledge is the contempt of a nature to wilt for stupidity?
No. If you want me to elaborate, I could say, I think the only reason we brought up wisdom versus knowledge right now is because of a quote I said, and we added a background to it.
Mhm.
So, if we're actually going to start talking about wisdom and knowledge, wisdom, you can't, obviously, exactly what you said. Knowledge is a delusion, right? But the reason I
Why
say,
you share it?
right, but the reason I say that it's, of course, knowledge is also very, you need to be smart, and there's no wilt in that. Like, you can't wilt delusion if you're knowledgeable because you know something.
I mean, wilt as in by the process of it. All right, there's a quote that I wrote down here from Arthur Schopenhauer where he says, "A man can do as he wills, but a man can never will as he wills." So if you have this will to share your knowledge, because the knowledge holds no value if it can't be shared. What is worth being smarts if it's not going to get you.
So you mean
anything,
from
right?
the sharing standpoint? I thought you were asking what is the point of getting knowledge if it's just a delusion.
But wisdom, no one tells of. Because wisdom, a wise man understands that through the process of sharing, you lose it because no one has the background that you have to understand your prepense wisdom.
Well, that's true. Because if I were to share something to a stupid person, who's to know they would understand?
Well, that's why I think death is the true wisdom. Because what man is
Well,
alive who
you
has
could
completed
think that,
his
but who's
death?
to know?
What man is alive who has completed his death?
Well,
It's a
there's
moment
this
of
one guy
knowledge.
in
That's-
Pirates of the guys in the Pirates of the Caribbean. You know they were like walking, but they were actually dead because of like the curse.
Bro, what the fuck?
Off topic.
There's an idea that I'm not very well versed in, but I'm curious what you would think of it.
Mm.
Have you heard of the death drive?
No.
So it's a mix from. I keep coming back. Maybe it's just because I've been reading Kieran so much.
Really
lately.
likes this death thing. He's very nervous.
So-
go ahead.
It's a mix of Freud and I think Jung was a part of it too. It's across various different thinkers, but it's this idea that it's commonly been explained that humans have a tendency towards pleasure and we want to be happy. But Freud and Jung, or I think it was just Freud, observed a tendency in people to repeat behaviors that are harmful and to move towards death, be it picking a scab or be it, listening to music that makes you sad or relives traumatic experiences. We have this sort of-
Dreams.
yeah.
Traumatic dreams.
We have this tendency in us to move towards death, a sort of longing for a return to an inorganic state of non-existence.
So there's been thousands of studies on this.
Yeah.
Now I know. Now I'm familiar. I refer to it as just studies of. It's really studies of past lives, because if you've had dreams, I love dream studies. I'm not gonna bring up the dream I had last night, but I had a dream. Not Martin Luther King, but I had a dream. Just because I say it like that, and then it's like it sounds like okay. And it was something that never happened in real life, but very well could have. An alternate possibility, as you can call it. And it was quite a weird experience waking up.
I mean, what differentiates an experience that could have happened and didn't happen? I mean, you could
Right,
say
did
that,
they really
you could
happen?
say that
Right.
this is as real as your dream. It's just you experienced it, no? Do you have memory of it? That's all you have anyways of life.
That's true, but it wasn't real. Do you know what I mean? And then you dive into what is a dream world, what is a real world, what is a reality, what is even a real.
I'd say they're pretty equal.
I'd say there's a vast difference.
I mean, how much?
I told you this. Many weeks ago, I believe it was like at the end of school, I told you touch is the most powerful thing.
Mhm.
You can't touch something in your dream, no matter how much you want to. You can't feel it. I've had lucid dreams. I can't. No matter how
Well, that's
much you
just a
want to
different
touch something.
nature to that reality.
But you lose the sense.
But does it exist?
Unfortunately, yes. And I think you've lost the sense of feeling death and feeling true purpose as a kind of delusion into a false reality. Because if you were to go into the true reality, obviously you wouldn't be thinking how we were thinking. There would be no point. Now, my dad was talking to me. Oh, well, find a hobby other than sitting in your room and trying to find different things, how to make money and how to become more successful being just sitting down and doing nothing. I was like, okay, but I'm choosing my avenue of delusion. He said, exactly. But you have to choose that avenue of delusion for purposefully. But we can't even think of what the purpose would be. That's why he's a regular job, good paying job, but regular job. That's why all of our parents have regular jobs. Because they choose the avenue of delusion that they wanted to do, and that's it. And most people do that. And that's what we're going to have to do. And that's so frustrating.
You choose the thing that deludes you closest to death.
Right. And it's so frustrating because...
But
like,
that itself is purpose. I wouldn't say that that's purposeless or that, oh, you're never going to find the purpose. I would say that is purpose if you want
Right.
to look
Well,
at it
that's
from
your
a different,
purpose, right.
from a different nature. It's
So is purpose your
whatever
avenue
you're
of
gonna make it,
delusion?
as long as it pulls you towards death, towards this one.
Well, that's why some Catholics and Christians say it's all a search for Jesus, search for God. That's what this is. Your life is to serve God because it looks as if it, on the outside, it looks as if this is a search for God.
Well,
Truly.
then that's the meaning of their life. But if someone wants to choose to disdain that, that can't be objectively true because not everyone believes that.
It can't, but it also may. Who's to say may versus can't? Only not us. I don't know, but there's some questions you can't answer.
But that is meaning. But and also, if you want to do heroin and you want to die in the streets, that's also meaning. I started looking
Right.
at purpose very differently because people talk about purpose as like, oh, you got to find your purpose, as if there's some universal objective nature
Right.
to purpose. But it's whatever you are. If you're a rich businessman, that's your purpose because that's what you are. If you're a depressed nihilist, that's your purpose because that's what you are. And you're not truly a nihilist because
In
if
the
you
moment.
believe that life was meaningless, you'd be dead. So,
In the moment, you are what you say you are. You know what I mean? Now, that doesn't mean if I
as
go...
Eminem said,
Yeah.
I am whatever you say I am.
Exactly.
If I wasn't, then why would I say I am?
Right. But it's different than me saying, oh, I'm a drug dealer, but I don't sell drugs. I've never touched drugs. Right? You can't be a drug dealer if you say you never touched drugs or am drugs because nobody would call you from the outside a drug dealer. That's why I am whatever you say I am. Because you can label somebody as anything. You could label me as a gay fat tranny. How were we to know? How would you... You could call me whatever. Now, only me responding to that would I look like exactly what you told me.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to you, it was on a different episode. I said, if somebody said, hey, idiot, and I responded, I look like the bigger idiot. Even if the other guy,
Thinking about that this morning.
even if the other guy is, oh, but he's, oh, why you let him talk down to you? He's a dickhead. Why you let him talk down to you? He's not, because he's talking up. He's searching for something he can't find, and if he finds that and trying to bring down others to his level, then that's only his stupidity that I'm not going to fall for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in school's coming up in 7 days. For some people, it started. I was talking to my friend in New Jersey. School started yesterday. It's crazy.
Yeah, we start pretty late.
And that's a distraction.
Certainly.
Do you want to elaborate on any further quotes? Because we can go into
Well,
the
I mean,
education system after, because
If you
I
wanna
really do
talk
want to
about-
discuss about
You have a lot
that.
of contempt for the education system.
I hate it.
But there's a quote from Epictetus where he
Right.
says, yeah, actually, there's two quotes that I want to bring here, so let me mention them both. He says,
But hate is a love, though.
He says, ask not that events should happen as you will, but let your will be that events should happen as they do, and you shall have peace. And to follow that up, Nietzsche, again, says, to live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering. So if you combine those two pieces of wisdom, and you sort of look to, I mean, we're having this...
Is it
little
wisdom, though?
We're having this
Because
little...
it's been shared.
I'm not going into that right now, you know what I mean. If we can, so if you're going into school, the whole reason we're having this conversation right now is because of school. The whole reason I'm having these thoughts, to find meaning in the suffering, is to survive. And if you're gonna look at it and be all like, "Oh, school, it sucks," it's pointless. It's gonna happen anyway. So ask that the event should happen as you will, and let your will, meaning what you want to happen, be that the event happens as it does, because it will happen. And find the meaning in that suffering.
Right, deep in mental imaging, but I hate quotes that were written thousands of years ago when the school system was built for thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago. It's still built like that, but it shouldn't be. So I can't relate. In my mind, right, it's all a mind game. Of course, if I think of school as a happy little playground, and I'm truly built into that delusion.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying to delude yourself.
But delusion
I'm
is
saying
knowledge.
amor fati. I'm saying love of wisdom, love of knowledge, but love of suffering.
It's not suffering. Because I don't hate going to school. I don't think anybody
It
hates
needs
going to
be
school.
suffering for you to love it.
Right. So I don't hate going to school. And what I mean by hate it is I mean that there is a specific thing about it that makes me feel more trapped than I am being here.
Right, but like you said, hate is love.
Right. but love is hate. So it goes back to hate. And hate can mean whatever you want it to mean, but hate means the textbook definition for me. And I don't care about any other philosophy. Everyone can agree with me. Nobody wants to be at school. I'm sure you'd rather sit on your ass in bed and do nothing. Why is that human nature, though?
To have contempt for something you're uninterested in?
No, to just sit on your ass all day.
Sit on your ass all day? Well, I mean, it's kind of what we're made to do.
Is it, though?
We distract ourselves so much. We don't need, if you want to look at necessity, which we're designed for, right? We don't need to be having this conversation. We don't need to go to school. We need food and water and a place to sleep. That's all you fucking, and a mating partner. That's the only thing that'll get some people out of bed. Right?
Some.
You need like 3, and you don't even need that. That's not even necessity. You
don't need anything. No.
You don't need anything. You could die. But
stupid way of thinking,
we
though.
put all this shit here when
Right.
we say, oh, why is that human nature? As if to question it doesn't perpetuate the truth in that. There's a quote.
So what you have to do, I'm trying to tell you something real quick. I want you to delude yourself how you thought base standard. Philosophy, you don't talk philosophically at all. No, at all.
Before I want to add something though, just to tie the knot of that thought. You're talking about why is it human nature to sit around all day. Kieran again. It's just I'm sorry. It's just what comes to mind because I was reading him. He said that what was it? The natural state of human being is to lie down, because when you lie down, time ceases, and history is built upon a civilization of men who stood. And to lie down, time ceases, and that's when you can see further horizontally into space and time. And that's the true state of philosophical questioning. When things are processed is when you sleep.
I like that horizontally thing.
Yeah.
Because back then I thought the earth was flat.
It's funny.
No, it is funny
anyway, so
because...
you want me to talk in a base standard, like I didn't know anything? Use simple words?
No, I need you to think without thinking. I need you to think on surface level. And horizontally was a good word you mentioned. Because I need you to think horizontally. If we start thinking 4-dimensionally, 3-dimensionally, rather than 2D, or 1D even on a horizontal
then the
plane.
becomes the loss of it.
Right. And then you start going into a faded reality and start thinking about... I'm talking about the preset. What's already here. The problem. School is a problem, no matter how you see it. School is the biggest problem, and if we're thinking on base level, like non-philosophically, not trying to make this a deeper meaning, but suffering is hate is suffering, all of that is very true. And regardless of the way you think about it, regardless of the way you agree about it, regardless of anything else...
See, that's my delusion then. Because I lose meaning to my life if I can't look through life through a lens of philosophy and saying, oh, love is hate, hate is love.
Well, then you have to look through it another way.
Then I can't find meaning in suffering and survive, as Nietzsche said I should.
Then you have to fight that. Because you're not going to be delusional.
But here's the thing. That itself is philosophy.
But you're not going to delude... Yeah, it's hard for me to not talk...
to know.
Right, it's hard for me to not talk and say, oh, you have to delude yourself. But you do.
Because delusion is philosophy. And philosophy is delusion. And by saying that, I philosophize delusion.
In all seriousness...
Circles. I'm sorry. In all seriousness.
There's... I could work at 16 at McDonald's. Find a job, $12 an hour every weekend, after school some days. Get a job... Get a little Toyota, go work, go get a college, go get applications, pay off student debt, go work till I'm 72, because that's going to be the retirement age. Work till I die, barely surviving, die, get buried, cremated,
but you could do anyways if you pursued what you're passionate about. You could die either way. It's a choice. It's a matter of fear, not smart choice.
I'm just so bored. It's just so boring.
It is so boring. So, to delude ourselves, let's return to surface level, like you said, and hop into another quote. So I have two right here. Choose 1, 2, or 3.
5.
1, 2, or 3. We already did 5.
3.
3. It is not worth the bother of killing yourself because you always kill yourself too late. Kieran again. I keep talking about Kieran. I love Kieran.
So that is pointless. Thinking surface level, the quotes are pointless. I tell you to rip up the sheet. It doesn't matter. Thinking is pointless.
I wouldn't say so though, because the pointlessness is the
I mean, we
drive
can
to
sit here and argue and say, oh, there's no point, there's no point, there's no point, there's no point.
That's not surface level.
But-
that's beneath surface level. If you look surface level, you would give so much of a fuck about everything right now. So you're not thinking surface level.
I
Let's
know,
talk
but
about-
it's so you can't think surface level because that's not how.
Let's talk about the quote and nothing. Let's talk about the quote and nothing else. It is not worth the bother
Okay,
of killing
fine.
yourself because you always kill yourself too late. So he's supposing.
But you can't just think about the quote. You can't, because that is a real life meaning.
Because the quote goes deeper, but that's the surface level.
Okay,
is the deepness.
okay, fine.
It's fucking stupid.
Okay, yeah, it is. That's why I just said rip up the sheet. It's really stupid because if you think about it like that, you can't think about it like that. It's 3-dimensional. Look at the reality we live in. He wrote that. He is 3-dimensional. He wrote that being 3-dimensional. I can't write something about being 1-dimensional. Have I ever been 1-dimensional? I sure hope not. No, I can't write 1-dimensional quote because 1D would be on surface level. That's the first dimension, or actually it'd be 0th dimension, and that's going to be even harder.
Can
to
you
write
think
in.
about the third dimension first dimensionally though? No, you can't. But you
No,
can
but you can think about it first
You can
person.
conceive it, but you can't relay it.
Exactly. But you can think about the third dimension. That's all we can think in. Third dimension. Actually, not really.
Some would argue that a higher experience, a fourth dimensional experience with God or some shit.
Okay. We can relay and receive third dimensionally only.
We can
We can-
conceive but not relay fourth dimension.
I'm gonna break the mic if you keep yapping about. So the fact killing yourself too late would be very true, because if you truly wanted to die and kill yourself, you would kill yourself right at birth, right? You would never have been anything, but you have became something, and in that life people remember you for what you were. If I were to kill myself right now, you're still gonna remember me, whether that be a brother, a friend.
You know, that's a different way of thinking about it. I always thought about it as, why kill yourself because you don't get to experience your death? And, you know, what's the point of dying if what you wanted to do is die?
Yeah, then you didn't even do it for anything. But
He said Kieran picked up writing as an alternative to suicide. Right?
so so I'm thinking the way he probably thought when he wrote that. If you were to kill yourself, you did it too late. He
said that the option of
choose
killing
death.
himself was better than being dead because you wouldn't get to experience the option if you were dead.
Well, it's a form of laziness. It's a form. That's another form of just. That's an escape.
Does laziness?
That's an escape. So wait. You said he chose his escape as writing rather than suicide.
Mhm.
So is that quote not an escape? Suicide is an escape. So in a way, exactly what I just said has been proven by his
Well,
own
wait,
writing. It's
but
an
you don't-
escape. But you have to choose your escape.
It's a very complex philosophy from Kieran because that book is all about birth and not death, and the book is called "The Trouble with Being Born."
I know.
Yeah,
Never wanted to be born.
exactly. That's what he's saying.
No, I actually did.
If you want to look at the escape, you got to look at the entrance.
I know, but I'm also very happy.
I am too.
Think about all the memories you've had.
It's so beautiful, so passionate.
But then think about the things you're gonna forget. But forgetfulness is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
If I thought about everything all the time,
It
I'd be so
is,
deluded.
But I hate my gift. I want to remember everything, and it's such a detrimental nature to myself that I want to remember everything because I know I shouldn't. Kieran. Again, I keep talking about fucking Kieran.
So do you want to
This
finish off these
conversation-
quotes?
This conversation is about Kieran.
I know. That's fine. He sounded like he chose his escape, and he,
He
knew
said that
his escape.
if a human being were to remember everything, then he could not bear his existence.
That's basically what I just said, except you gotta dumb it down. Everything means the same. Every single word, we talked about this already. We don't need to go deeper into this. Every word means exactly the same if you have a different definition of the word. It's your way of thinking.
It also depends on tonation. I can say, yeah, and then, yeah! And it's a completely different context. Same way I can say, and then, you receive a different message. Which brings me to our next quote. Nietzsche. Without music, life would be pointless. Because it is all rhythm, it is all music, it is all tonation that we have this very conversation. It's not words, but it's sounds that you're hearing. Messages received, and that's why there's limits to language, and you will understand things from music and feel them the way you can't feel words. And the way you feel words of love from the right person, from their voice, strike deeper than the words of someone you hate.
Could I be totally honest with you?
Yeah.
I listened, I didn't interpret. So I was thinking about something else, and I couldn't get my mind off of it. Earlier this morning, I woke up very early, and I got your text late because my phone was dead. And I woke up and I sat in my bed for like 2 hours thinking. I'll explain to you off podcast. I don't think it's the right time to explain on podcast. But I was thinking in my head while you were explaining that, and I was thinking how you were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I was thinking on the plane of your thinking and realized that it must be a world where everyone thinks on their own level. There must be billions, if not trillions, of thinking levels.
Oh,
And I don't know how to describe the levels, but I think...
do you want to?
I don't know. I think normal. But there is no normal. Because if I were to say somebody's normal, that's putting in a category.
Relative. If everybody had one arm, then it wouldn't be weird to only have one arm.
So normal is the best way to describe it, yet still. So
Surface
I
level.
think... I think very normal, yet complex. I don't know how to describe my own thinking because it's complex. But if it's not complex, then it's also simple because I'm thinking normally. So then what I would think was complex would be not complex to a normal... to a ascended human being that would not be normal anymore.
Well, an ascended human being would think on all levels because they would be wise.
That would be nobody, though. Can't think on all levels.
Not nobody that we
just
know. They wouldn't be alive. They would have returned to either an inorganic state or to, whatever you believe comes after.
I don't know.
Wise men, again, I'll say it again. Wise men don't speak. That's why dead men are wise. And we can't fathom their words because they're not around.
I don't know. I don't know. And that's like the most simple way I could think of describing it.
Well, you're made to know.
Right, but I don't. So, I think we have to end it.
But we have another quote.
But I think it's a circle, and I feel like I'm talking on a normal. I feel like I'm talking on a normal circle.
It is, but it's like if you don't follow the circle, then you're just gonna follow another circle. So at least you're following a circle right now where you're conscious of the circle you're following.
I'd rather not be.
You'd rather be deluded in a different way. You'd rather be lost. And that is that the death drive.
It's not easier. It's so much harder to be lost. It's so much harder. You have to think to be lost.
Much, much harder.
Nobody's truly lost, because like you said, if you wanted to kill yourself, you'd be dead. You're not lost.
No, I'm not. I'm lost in the search, but the search is my meaning. So, I'm not lost.
I don't know. I want to experience a day as a different mind. Because people are not real. People are your mind and what you think.
Mm.
And I don't say that, oh, people aren't real. Conspiracy theory. No, your mind, I'm thinking out of my brain right now. I don't know how. I don't know how that works. I lied. No matter how many studies I do, I can't do enough because scientists don't even know how your brain fully functions.
Consciousness is so far in the future of scientific research.
No, it's so far in the past.
You want to talk about time? No, I don't.
No, I don't. Because it's not real. So if I were to talk about something unreal, I would look like a crazy person. That's what I look like. And
But
that's
you
what
are.
Yeah, but I am. But that's so. What drugs do to you is also another weird thing.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know much about drugs, but I know the hallucinogenics very well.
Yeah, that's interesting to talk about.
I can't talk about it right today.
Do you think that hallucinogenics are hallucinations, or do you think they're entrance into another dimension?
Hallucinations. It's been proven they're hallucinations because your mind goes into a different state of thinking.
Well, isn't that another dimension that we just talked about?
It's not. It's not in a dimensional plane. A dimensional plane would be in...
I'm using dimension for the purpose of talking, but you know what I mean. I don't mean dimension as
So there's
in,
no word to put in what you're thinking of. And if that's perfectly
that's
fine.
why it's a different level.
Right.
We're
It
just
wouldn't be a
gonna-
level, though.
I'm just going to say level.
Right. So what I'm going to interpret that as now is you don't know a word. So it couldn't be anything if there was nothing there. If you can't think of it, stop.
That's not true.
How? How? If you can't think of it,
I
stop.
explained it to you in the beginning.
How?
Precisely what you can't think of is what's true, because language will never allow you to conceive truth, and that's why wise men don't speak.
That's what I just said. Stop.
But don't stop.
But
Because if you're
stop
trying- because if you're gonna
wise
try-
men don't speak. So stop speaking.
It would be unwise for me to stop speaking, because that would be.
But how if it would be
Because that would be
wise?
me faking my wiseness. If I were truly wise, I would have no desire to speak. I have a desire to speak, and that's truth. That's not it. A wise man can't.
I
speak.
can't-
No,
now-
no. Let me rephrase. It's not that a wise man doesn't speak, but he can't speak. He can't. If I can speak, then I'll speak, and it's only until I can no longer speak that I am wise.
It's hard not to speak. Remember last year when I tried to not talk in the school day and I couldn't because it would neglect.
You didn't even last a full day.
You can't. You can't. And as a normal person, there's no true wise men on this planet.
No, that's what I'm saying. What
Even
man is
these guys
alive?
who wrote down these quotes.
No, they are wise because they're dead, but we could never conceive that because they're
Right now.
wandering around.
They were ignorant when they wrote that.
They were, but that's exactly what we
That's
are
un-
now, and that's the pursuit of wisdom, is what all philosophy
But it's
is.
pointless. So let's talk about. I want to talk about something on surface level.
I have one last quote.
Oh my God, this guy is really quote obsessed. Go
I
ahead.
wrote like 5 quotes.
I know, but
So.
now it's gonna take. It. You could say I could sit here for years and talk because I'm not a wise man. I'm very, very stupid, and I don't know what to say to you bringing up quotes. And I know school's gonna start and you're gonna bring up quotes and we're gonna talk about how to make this podcast better and how to improve. But at the end of the day, what is your desire in life? You personally.
Philosophy.
Is it though? What do you really want?
No, I've never been more certain that philosophy is my... Hey, so you're gonna fuck up the audio. Philosophy is my delusion, and I've never been more.
That's your
certain.
delusion, are you sure?
I'm so sure. I've never been more deluded or pulled towards death by anything other than philosophy. I would choose philosophy over anything. It is so. I can't put it into words because it's the only
I know,
wise.
and many-
it's
I
the
can't
only
even-
wise thing about me is that I want to know and that I want to be wise. That itself is a concept I can't explain, and that itself
Right,
is
and
wise wisdom.
I'm just receiving. I can't think the way
What
you're
about you?
thinking.
If you want to talk surface level, because it's comprehensible, I want to
Well, comprehensibility is
lead a purposeful career and have a healthy family. That's it.
right.
And purpose is philosophy for me. For me. So, but what about you?
Death.
It's essentially what I said.
That's what everyone wants.
Yeah.
It's not a want. No, because I can't use that word. Because that's not the definition of want.
It's whatever you want it to be.
No. That's my delusion.
Death or want? Desire. Death is everyone's delusion, but that's not surface level.
So you want to know my desires.
So surface level, what is your desire for your want?
So however long I live, my desire, my want.
A want? I actually think we should reverse that, because the desire is much deeper than a want. Right? You can want to do drugs, but really what you want is
I know.
transcendental experience.
So
not
you
drugs.
said your desire, right? A healthy family, whatever, good career.
No, that's not what I desire. That's what I want.
That's what you want?
What I desire is
That's
death, like you said.
Desire is a longing. I don't know if I'm longing for death. Not yet.
Well, you wouldn't know because it's covered by
Right.
your wants. And you haven't completed. Once you complete your wants, then you'll have your desire.
Well, then there's no point in living, correct?
But not all your wants are true.
I can't say anything. So, I think we have to go and speak more literally and stop thinking about everything as
I think it's funny how our conversation led us through each and every one of these quotes. Because to end this
without
off,
telling you.
and we're not going to discuss it, but to end this off, Nietzsche's quote fits perfectly in its elusive meaning. He who has a what can bear almost any how. And don't further it, because the caveats are spoken by its incorrectness.
I'm speechless, right? There's nothing else to further.
Thank you for watching this episode. Please subscribe, and we hope to have guests on soon and shit. And this podcast is gonna get a lot better. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. You have anything you want to say? Or no, you're still speechless. Yeah. All right. Bye bye.